Hello and welcome back to the channel once again. My name is Andy and today we're back with another part of the Classic Cars in Motorsport series. This is part 14 in all, and it's part 2 looking back at classic Lotus cars as we move on to the Lotus 49. And again, another revolutionary car from Colin Chapman and Team Lotus back in the late 60s, and we're going to get into that in just a moment's time. As usual though, I would like to start off by saying thank you very much for watching. If you do enjoy this video, please do hit the like button. If you enjoy what you're seeing, you want to see more content from myself, do hit the subscribe button and do also hit the bell icon as well so that you don't miss out on any notifications of videos I put up. Not only do I do classic videos like this, I also do commentary video from Next Gen Racing's V8 Supercar League, which I'm a part of, and I also do F1 race reviews, and you're likely to see one on Sunday evening, hopefully, after the Canadian Grand Prix this weekend. But back to the point of today's video, and it is the Lotus 49, and just like I did last week with the 25, quick disclaimer to start with, the video you see in front of you is not my own. I did find it on YouTube and I will link the original video in the description. The video was taken at a classic meeting in Zandvoort, which is very fitting considering that the car debuted at Zandvoort and it actually won in the hands of Jim Clark back in 1967. So you're seeing an original Lotus 49 with the Ford Cosworth V8 engine, and that's very unique as well in this video too, back at the location where it made its debut. So I will link that below. Thank you very much to that person who for putting it on YouTube so that I could obviously use it here for this educational purpose video, as I like to think of it. But back to the point, so the Lotus 49, so they made changes in 1966 to the regulations where it became a 3-litre formula, and Lotus had a hard time getting used to it. It went through about 3 or 4 different engines. It also included a BRM H16 engine. Don't ask me because I'm not technical enough, as well as their V8s and stuff like that. So they really struggled. And during the off season, Colin Chapman went and approached some former Lotus employees by the name of Keith Duckworth and Mike Coston. Now, some people might not know who these people are, but these two people are very important in the history of motorsport, because these two are responsible for Cosworth, and a lot of people know exactly who Cosworth are, obviously. And Coston and Duckworth had been taking production Ford engines and modifying them for Junior Formula, and Chapman had kept in touch with him. He'd been using some of their engines as well for other cars that he ran, and he went to him and he says, could you make a proper GP engine, and how much do you think it would cost? Duckworth estimated around about £100,000 to build and maintain 5 engines for the season, and if they were able to get the money together, Lotus would have exclusive use of it for the first season only. They wouldn't be able to do after that. So all that was needed was a source for the money. This is where we come into speaking about Walter Hayes. Now at this time he was Ford's Director of Public Affairs, and Ford of Europe had recently been setting up and was trying to make a bit of a name for itself, and this was a great example of just that for them. Hayes was able to sell that back to the superiors in Detroit, and lo and behold, Cosworth went ahead and created the engine. Now they had the choices. A lot of people felt that a V12 was the best solution for the 3-litre formula, but Ford and Cosworth and even Chapman, they all agreed that a V8 configuration was best. It had a great significance to the Detroit company, Ford obviously being in Detroit, V8s being the sort of backbone to the Motor City. When Chapman himself preferred it as well, because it meant it would be a lighter and smaller engine, which again, being used as a stressed member to the cockpit and to the chassis, would make it a lot much lighter than it would be if a V12 was stuck onto the back of it instead. So that meant that he could go ahead and make the design to the chassis that he wanted to do. Other teams carried on with the V12s, like Ferrari. BRM continued on with the H16. A lot of people felt that this DFV engine, as it would be labelled, would not work. Well, how wrong were they? After the first season, as I say, got debuted in '67, Clark won on his debut at Zandvoort. Now, they didn't win the championship that year due to unreliability, but in 1968 it all came together. But it was also a sombre year as well for the team. So the season opened at South Africa, Clark took the win, and then weeks later he passed away at Hockenheim in a Formula 2 race when he went off into the forest. The team was down. It was Graham Hill, who had joined the team in '67 at the behest of Ford as well, who took leadership of the team, helped to hold the team together, bring them through the turmoil of losing Jim Clark. And Hill would end up taking the championship in '68, as well as his 4th or 5th wins that he had around Monaco. It's no wonder he was called Mr. Monaco at that time. Now, the 49 ran from '67 right the way through to 1970. They actually had a car lined up to replace it called the 63. But that was a failure, so they went back to the 49, they adapted it, so there's been a 49, 49B and a 49C. And the 49C is not what you see on the screen at the moment, it's the one we're going to see in the video, the first challenge that I'm going to do in a moment. Now, the 49C had wings. It was one of the first cars to try and develop aerofoils. They were really high up originally and they were flimsy as anything, so they got scrapped and banned, and eventually they became attached to the car itself, and it just revolutionised it again. And the other part that revolutionised the sport for the 49, along with not just the engine but the wings, was also sponsorship. So they started putting sponsor stickers on, but Chapman struck a deal with Gold Leaf Tobacco, and it was quite a lucrative one, and the entire car was painted out in the gold, cream and red colours of Gold Leaf back in '69. It was the first time a car had been changed from its standard, what would be its standard sort of colours, which would be the colours of its racing heritage. So racing green for Britain, Toro, you know, the red for Italy, blue for France, you had silver, white for Germany, things like that. This was the first time that ever changed, and it was due to Colin Chapman as well. So not only did you get the wings through this car, not only would you get sponsorship decals and colour schemes coming from that, but that engine as well from Cosworth, the DFV, ran in some way, shape or form in Formula 1 until the 1980s, so successful it was. Okay, by the time 1980s came, it wasn't as quick, but it just shows you how long. It's the second, Cosworth are the second most successful manufacturer for engines, other than Ferrari. That's how good that engine was, and it was put in a lot of different cars after '67, but it was just absolutely stunning. The car's also known for being the car that gave Jochen Rindt his first win, which was at Watkins Glen in 1969, and it was also the car which he took his one and only championship in and became the only posthumous Formula 1 world champion. So a lot of history behind this car. I'll continue on a wee bit as well through the video itself, but a lot of stuff behind it, and there's so many bits and pieces to it. Obviously the article I write with these videos as well will be on my blog post. I will leave the link down below as well, as I always do to that as well, and you can read in a wee bit more detail, and obviously you can search to the car as well on Google. Eventually it was replaced by the Lotus 72. Now that's a car we're not going to cover in this series, because I want to go into the 78 next, which was a ground effect car, so I want to go into that next time. And that brought along another sponsorship livery. We all remember the GPS black and gold. So, but we're going to go and take a free lap last the first challenge, this time round the Rouen Les Essarts track in France. But before we get into that, I'm just going to leave you with a last glimpse of this fabulous Lotus 49 and that Ford Cosworth V8 engine. So here we are on the grid at Rouen, one of the old classic tracks. We're underway. Going to be line past a few cars. Dropping it down a gear into the left-hander. And then there's a right-hander down here, and this is old-style tracks. Coming up to the Virage do Novo Monde, which is the hairpin basically. And I make a complete and utter twat of this. On the grass! Sideways! Everyone's stacked up. Boom. Cobblestones you'll notice there as well though. So yeah, that wasn't expected. I was going to restart it. I decided no, I'm not doing that since it took me this long to get to that. So what's quite nice, because 68. Graham Hill took it in 68, that was his second championship, and as I mentioned, Jochen Rindt in 1970, he was crowned champion, but unfortunately he died the weekend he won the championship, which was at the Italian Grand Prix. He passed away in a practice crash. The reason for picking the Rouen track is it was one of the tracks on the calendar in 1968. You will notice that the cars are a mix of the Lotus 49, the Lotus 49C, and even the Lotus 72, which is the car that preceded this as well. So there's a wee mix in here. If we come through this very fast part through Gressel and down to Sicere, which is a tight second gear corner, and going over cobblestones as well. So, but I picked this because it was also the last time that this classic track was used, as I get it very wrong watching the AI making an accident of their own. Now, one of the reasons it was the last time it was ever used was the race took part in the rain, and a number of things happened that day. Jackie X took his first win. It was one of the reasons he was known as the Rain Master as well. Jochen Rindt took his first pole position to go on to take his first win the following year at Watkins Glen, and Pedro Rodriguez took his first fastest lap. However, the main reason the track was stopped is, as you can see, very little runoff, fencing, and then trees and grass bankings. And during the race, Joe Schlesser, well, on the second lap of the race, was driving the new Honda RA302 chassis. The car was made in magnesium content. He crashed into one of the grass bankings. I think it was coming down the hill after the start line on the second lap, and the car caught back in. Obviously, anyone after science will know that burns very, very quickly, very brightly, and very, very hot, and they just couldn't put the fire out quickly, and Schlesser died. Unfortunately, his life was dropped through that. And this is another one of those turning points I've mentioned before, where Jackie Stewart was one of the head people of trying to push forward safety, and that was the reason that this was one of the reasons this track was dropped after the 68 race. It's in Project Cars 2 we get to relive the memories and relive the history, which is fantastic, but obviously it was such a shame that a talented racing driver, yet another one, had to lose their life before safety was upgraded. We're on to lap 2 though in the race, and we are driving this 49C version, so we're driving the last version of the car with the gold leaf style tobacco sponsorship livery, and they got the wings front and back as well. You can see even on just gear change and just how much the car pitches on the suspension. You brake, you can probably see it in the top corner on the replay mirror that it nose dives because of the suspension. It's not like cars these days where there's not as much of that happening. It's obviously very passive suspension, so you can see it, you can feel every movement, and even using a controller rather than a steering wheel, you can feel those differences running on those Firestones, but you can see the tread on them as they used to have at that time, with cross-ply tyres. And you think Lowe's hair is difficult, try this one. This is very tight. Revs, and the revs came in again, and she weren't ready for it. and even in the game I can feel some of that at certain revs. You just starts to pick up, it just gets light on the suspension, and it just really is fun to drive though. You can actually, even with a controller, I'm actually double clutching to just blipping the throttle to help me downshift, keep the stable balance. It does actually help, I think, even in a game like this on the controller, so it's just incredible how that works. But we are not going to get to first because we're miles behind due to what happened in the first couple of laps. So coming through for one last time through this quick right-hander at Gressel down the back straight, you can see me getting sideways and causing what would have been an accident of epic proportions, and then I'm getting punched as well. You'll notice obviously in the replay as well quite a few times that AI had a few accidents with themselves, and I'm about to get cut off here. There we go. I try and get on the power early and I just get that twitch there and it just pushes me wide, so this shows you. But that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Hit like, subscribe and comment below as well. I'll be back next week, but until the next video I will see you again soon. Ta-da.